Welcome back to Factorio Space Age. We want to go further in space, and we're having problems. Trying to get to the edge of the solar system here, and then further, in order to get the last new things, is difficult. This is 100,000 kilometers of more and more, larger and larger chunks. Huge asteroids at higher and higher quantities. Barely made it like a quarter of the way before I had to turn back or something. We need a lot more something. Seemed like the railguns were doing their job very effectively. Well, that's good to see. Well, that was only when there was a very small amount of the huge guys, so we'll see how that progresses. And then these are going to be handy to switch back. It's using up all of these here. But the real problem we were having was very much so the rockets. At least at that stage. So we're going to need more of a lot of things here. This is kind of full of stuff here, too. Let's jettison some rocks. Or they're going to be used up. We don't get too many rocks from here, so honestly, it'll be fine. Consider for later. Always switching these around to make different stuff and use different stuff. Is this a large enough crushing and changing setup for all of what we're doing here? Also, maybe not. Is this enough things getting made here in order to propel us through? Also, maybe not. That's why we are stocking back up again on explosive rockets. So we're gonna need a lot more. We can technically make some while we're traveling, but we need to see how well that actually works. We will see. But we can also get some actual improvements here in the forms of infinite research. Specifically looking at stronger explosives. Currently at 180% rocket damage, plus 50% for each time we go through this. So if we go through a few of these, we could theoretically get the amount of rockets needed to blow up the big rocks down. And that would count for a lot. Actual numbers, question. But there's only so far we can go in the infinite research with our current stacks of resources, essentially. So we're going to just go as far as we can here. This is 1,000 for the next plus 50. Then it's going to be 2,000, and then 4,000, and then 8,000. After that, it starts getting a little bit wildly expensive for our current setup. So we're going to try to do those 4. And to make use of all the processing and making more rockets and ammo and everything while we're out there. Also going to go ahead and get a bit of the asteroid productivity. Increase the bonuses by 10% for the first one. And the next one, another 10%. Just every time it gets a bit more expensive. So we're going to go with that. Starting at the 1, it doesn't quite get to doubling every time, but it gets there. So in total, we need a whole bunch of all the different sciences up to agricultural. So pretty much just space and then agricultural, which we get the agricultural while we're there. You guys are still doing stuff. What are y'all doing? What are you making? Anyways, we've got some science still sitting around here. Specifically, a whole bunch of space science already. That's 10,000, 16,000 space science. That's basically enough of that. If we also include the amount we have here on the platform, which is none because we dropped it off. turn on space science production because we need a little bit more. That's almost there. Come back over here, Glemma. Any of that. We've got no agricultural science because that needs to be made here. We do have a little bit of the other ones though. We also count the amount that's just on the tracks here. There's definitely some. We see exactly how much. We'll just bring a little bit extra. It's not the worst idea. If we did this, doesn't tell us. Yeah. We'll just bring enough then. In total, there's definitely more of these three specifically, because they're all the way backed up to here. So could maybe knock off 1,000 off of each of those, but it's not that big of a deal. Basically, we're here over Novice, which is exactly where we need to be, because these rockets are going to be setting us up all the science we could dream of. We're over here to our science area. Wait, previous science area. Isn't really doing much here since we don't have much research that doesn't use the Lyme science and all that. Anyways, we got boxes which have 10,000 of each of these, which is not quite enough based on the calculations. We'll make some more science and we'll get it going. Go up here, make our requests. Specifically over in this section. Don't really need more express transport belts on us right now. Keeping the uranium coming in, probably a swell plan. Let's make the actual requests here. In the science department. Automation and science banks. 19,000. Also, do we have space for all these? That's another question. We need to make multiple trips. In terms of storage, we've got like 700 spots left in here. That's enough space for a good chunk. What these guys stacked to? 200. If it was, yeah. Could do less. Do it in trips. Also an option. On the way, 4,000. Start with like, I mean, how much is this thing getting? Number 5. Each 10. 2,000. We have 700 spots. One-fifth of that in thousands. We have some more stuff. 19,000. Bill on planet, 11,000, 7,000. Military, don't need any military somehow. Oh, yeah, it's black. Yes, we do. Only 15,000. And then we got chemical science packs, 19,000. And then Russian science packs, 4,000. And utility science packs, 19,000. We need to actually make 19,000 over there. Satisfaction 0. On the way 4,000. Are they them? Over here. A whole bunch of robots bringing the science. This is almost enough. On the way 32. Some of them had to just go and charge between requests here. It's not the best setup, honestly. Yeah. We have 700 spots here. that'd be enough for a good chunk of stuff. Assuming that's even correct. Storage is using 109. 10. 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, 110. Yep. Yeah. Here comes the first science packs here. 2,000 in 10. So it would be 70 chunks of 10 row of spaces. Each of those 70 can hold 2,000, so that's like 140,000. I should have enough. Just a matter of getting all of these up here. The availability is also not quite there. What we're going to do while we wait for the science to get sent places. Because the robots are doing their best. There's a point where we could request them to do different ones at a time so they start getting the different things coming instead of just taking it all out of one box and that's the only thing that's making new stuff. They're trying their best here. This is not the best way to do this. Change the request to more like 8,000 of each. That'll be 2 rocket salvos, and then we can switch it back to the amount we actually need. Yeah, 4,000, that's still fine. 8,000 of that. Put it on space science packs. Making a few. If you look over here, we already had 10,000, 16,000 at least. So really only need another 3,000 space science up here. We kind of got the technology. Ice and iron, carbon. A lot easier than the eventual Promethium science packs up here, requiring biter eggs and quantum processors and Promethium asteroid chunks. We need to make the quantum processors possibly over there. We need to bring the biter eggs up from Novice and get the Promethium chunks in this belt storage system. It's a lot of problems. Anyways. Also need just a huge number of explosive rockets, honestly. I don't think we're going to get enough just being made to deal with everything. At absolute full tilt, we're making 0.15 rockets per one of these, and we have 6 of them. That's almost 1 rocket per second, assuming we're getting enough explosives and everything coming through. That's more like 0.9 if you consider these. So yeah, we're definitely using lots of rockets as we get out further. Even with improved damage and a big supply, it's questionable if this is going to really work out for us. These are on the way. Got enough uranium. We drop the depleted uranium fuel cells here. Don't need those. That's going to drop down to here. Over at the cargo landing pad. Let's just kind of sit there, since everything we have here is taking out other sciences and iron ore. There's space in here, though. We've gone through 79 of the uranium fuel cells. I would think that 1,000 should be enough to get out there and do some stuff. Maybe. That's the hope and dream, at least, here. In terms of other things to improve, can't say we have too many other things. One thing we could try to do would be something with making higher quality stuff. We have nothing set up to do anything with that. It'd be a question of what the qualities would even accomplish for us. When we look at things, question is what it actually does. No damage. Damage, duration. No damage with a star. Things have effects and stuff. It's more just not that. Turbo transport belts. It's also going to be maybe a problem. The half of a express belt around the edge here. Is that enough storage of rockets to get all the way around and back to here? The rockets are coming onto the belt right at this point. But it should be honestly pretty fine. Gets to all of these before it runs out. But then we might run out entirely. There's some potential issues here, to be sure. Oh, yeah. Getting the different rocket pieces we need. Making stuff. It's going through. So it's getting chucked off into space, which is fine. We got a lot of thruster and fuel and oxidizer storage. The question if that'd be enough to go the entire way was also something we should probably have checked. That keeps going pretty well, though. Only takes some of the more basic ingredients. Make a nice chunk of it with the advanced thruster fuel recipe. Got good piles of water here from all the ice. Rocks, rocks, rocks. Great. Man. Mostly works. We've sent up 8,000 logistic science packs, so that's going. Oh, 4,000. They're coming in. These are coming in. And these ones, these ones, these ones. We got plenty of space. It also helps that we don't need to go and grab all of the electromagnetic, metallurgic, and cryogenic packs. Those are not used in these recipes for these researches. So that is a little bit less space that we're using. Comparatively, the amounts per science is very similar to our previous haul for all the previous stuff. But again, without 3 of the different sciences, so still pretty good. Still gonna take a bit here. If we look at number available on planet, this needs to be more like 11,000. It's currently at 4,700. Same here. It's gonna take a little bit to make that much more science here too. Military science is on the way. Chemical, production, utility, space. And we actually need to get to Gleba, turn it on, and have it make enough of the science here. I wonder what all these guys are doing. What is your goal? Bringing stuff around, doing things. Everybody's still running. Got a bit of low density structures in here. Got a nice bit of processing units. Do you want to get a setup here for making more low density structures? Probably would be a terrible idea. It's kind of all backed up since it's the only thing it's doing. Not gonna really be launching much else besides ourselves here. I'll be fine. Rocket fuel is doing fantastic. This one's completely full. This one has just a little bit. Over here at the power area, it's got the amount I asked for. A big old stack of rock fuel. Things are working here. How's the spores doing? Not going too much further. The alien life here has not been the hugest problem. If we were expanding even further, maybe it would be. But as it currently stands, not too worried about it. science. More depleted uranium fuel cells. Definitely gets used up. Though I doubt it's being actually used currently. Solar panels. Doing the heavy lifting here. Depends what's all being used, I suppose. Crushers, assembly machines, furnaces, chemical plants. Yep. No rail guns being fired currently, so that is not using all their power. Well, that's good. Okay. Now, another case of make more science, go research some stuff. It's gonna take a little bit here. In terms of amounts of these can be sent per second, it's 45 items per second on the belt. So essentially 22.5 rockets per second being on the belt. If we're firing more than 22 rockets per second, that's going to mean that there's not enough rockets to get to the other end here. There's also still chances they can drift in this way and the side rockets will fire too. So if it gets to that point, it's a problem. We want to possibly invest in turbo belts. Goes from 45 to 60. So from 22.5 rockets per second on a half a belt to 30. It's not a huge difference. It really depends just how many we're firing off. As long as some of them are close together, they can do the splash explosion from the explosive rockets. Area of effect size, damage, plus damage. We get damage plus damage from the explosive bonus. That is doubly helpful from all these stronger explosives upgrades we're going to be getting here. Previously we were doing 6 explosive rockets per big one. If we're going to be doing 10 of these, which ups it by 50%, so we can get from like 180% to 380%, or plus 380. It's a sizable chunk. Could add up the total damage here. I have to also figure out the area explosive damage. See if we could get down to maybe 4 rockets. Would be great. That'd be a lot of savings in terms of number of explosive rockets used. Can't really do much more with the piercing round magazines, because the next upgrade for that was like 64,000 Zions or something for the physical damage upgrade. And then the railgun turrets were just blasting them instantaneously, so can't imagine we would need any upgrades for that right now. Also, we have a lot of railguns, so speed didn't seem to be an issue either. Yeah. We're using up all the rocks that came through. Also another limiting factor just hanging around here. Not too many rocks come in for us to grab. Well, that's something. Just turn these for now. And now put it back on the belt. And that's something. Yeah, monitoring what we're doing with this is also a system. How are we doing? Military science is here. Chemical science is on the way. Getting the numbers back up slightly here. Okay. And space science is almost done. Technically could keep making more space science. But honestly, beyond these upgrades, these are going to get a little bit too expensive to really handle currently. So, that's pretty much what we can do for now in terms of actually trying to make things work here. There's some science. Yeah. One thing that really would help would just be filling the entire rest of this with explosive rockets. That'd be pretty good. I could work with that. Science. Yeah. We went through... It was thousands of rockets. And we only made it like a quarter of the way, essentially. See, if we have 700 more spaces to put 100 rockets in, that's something. That's definitely something. 70,000 more rockets. At that point, we really need to be worried about the explosive not only being the limiting factor here. Railguns, or even just the regular piercing round magazines. Because these need to deal with all the small and medium guys. They go pretty quick, but they also fire pretty quick. So, shooting speed 10 plus 15 per second. 10 ammo per one. And again, that's also limited by the 22.5 on a half express belt here. So if that's too much total firepower, we need to basically redesign the whole thing again. The whole thing is set up to grab off of the same belt here, and then put things on the other belt for the rocks that come in. If we wanted to change that, we basically need to move the entire outer ring out at least one, and deal with any consequences of that system. If we tried to go even further out here, all the way to the Shattered Planet, where the huge Promethium asteroids increase to 714 per meter. That's a lot. That's 714 huge per meter. When the previous, we're going to have to 17 bigs per meter, and a whopping 9 per meter. Huge carbonic here. It starts off crazy, then it gets crazy. There's also just regular chunks in here. Okay, huge, 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 huge. And just a couple little chunks for some reason. But yeah, that is 100 times more asteroids than the max over here. We only got to like this far where it's more at like 1 per meter. So that'd be like 700 times. Even here, it's gonna be like maybe like 9 times because there's also these ones that are only like 3. But at least like 5 times more asteroids at the end there. The solar system edge. Than 700 times more at the Shattered Planet. That is a lot. If they're all right next to each other, though, all the explosions will overlap. So that'd be good. Think of the positives, I suppose. Oh boy. How's the science doing? It is on the way, on the way. These are here. Not enough available to satisfy requests, but it's working on it. Yeah. Well, the production science packs are going to be here, and that'll be enough. Only need those for the asteroid productivity. Production science packs for productivity research. Who would have thunk it? Wow. Okay. These are coming. Yeah. 3,002 of these are on the way, apparently. I prefer it was actually the perfect normal amount. We have enough space science here now. Turn that off. Save all the carbon and ice for other productions. Okay. We're getting a little full on sulfur again. Seems to be we get more full on sulfur than other things. We just drop half the sulfur in here essentially. It's coming from here, it's coming from here, it's coming from here, it's coming from here. Half of it goes off here, half of it goes in there, another half of it goes in here. So as long as there's enough sulfur further down here for making the explosives and coal here, there'll be enough sulfur. I haven't really gotten to the point where we're too worried about there not being enough copper. Which all the copper smelters are full anyways, so seems to be doing alright. What do we need to worry about? This system also does kind of get through here until there's full of carbon, and then it also backs up. So I kind of need something in here. Grabbing off a few bits of carbon, putting them away. Let me do something about that. If we were to take this belt here, and then around this water, and take a long head inserter that only takes carbon. Right, stack size, it's like 1. I'll slowly put a few carbon on the belt here to get rid of. And the majority of the carbon can head over this way. To be used for making coal. This is essentially limiting the buildup of the calcite and the carbon and the sulfur and the iron, copper ore. Still have all the iron ore and ice coming through them. Areas where we have too much ice, which is only really being used for space science, which is not turned on, and melting, could end up with not enough of the calcite. It's not being made. Calcite also does come through here and go to where it needs to be first, though. Or also, at least. Anyways. The last of the first half-ish of the science is on the way here. Watch them land in the absolute mess that is the cargo bay here now. Oh yeah. If we want to do more and have more things, we would need an even larger platform here. Which is technically possible, but this one's already, as it says, 2,400 tons. If we look at the blueprints we made of it, is a lot. It's a lot of stuff. Okay. Purple's done. And 1,000 is on the way. Amazing. He's being damaged, it's fine. We've got a whole repair system down there ready. Also check to make sure there's still ore coming through the mines here, but for the most part it's working out. Okay. They're all successful. Sent everything they need. Platform is good. But it's not actually good. We need a lot more science up here. It's more than a full screen. More than a full screen. And more. Probably still fine. Also up to 4.7 thousand explosive rockets. That needs to be a lot more. But we need to deliver this stuff and get it out of the storage in order to have space for more explosive rockets, so let's start with that. Get the rest of the science on board. Next time. Goodbye.